and this is a quote, a lot of people had access to that Tesla. That's from somebody connected to all of this. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But if they did,
well, that would definitely complicate matters.
Now, from the very beginning, people online had their doubts about David's manager, Josh Marshall. They claimed he knew Celeste was underage, yet still encouraged her to run away from home and live with him and David. Now, the law has finally caught up with him, and federal agents have arrested Josh after leaked footage appeared to show him abducting 14-year-old Celeste Rivaz Hernandez and dragging her into the Tesla. Prosecutors say he could now be facing life in prison. But to really understand how it got this far, you have to go back to where the red flags first started. Marshall is the guy that was supposed to be managing David's career, not getting dragged into something like this. But here's the problem. Josh didn't just know about Celeste, he was warned about her in black and white. Back in February 2024, a family friend of Celeste sent Josh an email, and this wasn't just some random note. It had her missing persons report attached with all her details. The message was blunt. We know Celeste is living with you.
With him, and that they included the missing persons flyer. She's a missing person. She's, 12 or 13 at that time. And the next, I think it was the next day or the day after, she showed up. She just showed up on her own, back home.
You guys, she needs to return home. And guess what? One day later, Celeste actually did go back home. Which means Josh saw the email. He knew she was a missing child,
That's the
and
logic
he knew
being
she was
pushed,
underage.
that the LAPD
He knew
doesn't
she was
have
tied
enough
to his
evidence
client,
against
David.
David.
But
Maybe
weeks
that's
later,
exactly why the
Celeste
feds
was
turned
right
their
back at the
attention to
apartment,
someone else.
living with David
now
and
it looks
Josh
like
again.
the feds finally have had enough
This is
to
not
move in on Josh
speculation,
Marshall.
but a timeline
Reports say
straight
they're
from
looking
people
at
who knew her
serious evidence,
and tried to get her
including
back
what might be
home.
video and photo footage
Now,
from that Tesla.
if you're managing a
The kind
star
of
on
business that
Interscope
sparked rumors
Records,
online
and you've
but
just been
actually holds up
told
in
that your
court.
artist has
At
a
this point,
missing
it's bigger than internet
14-year-old
theories.
staying under his
A
roof,
14-year-old
what's
girl
the
lost
next
her life,
move?
and people who
You
were
call her
supposed to be
parents.
adults in the room. The
You call the
manager,
police.
the artist,
You
even
create
the label,
distance.
stayed
But
silent
Josh
until
stayed
the law
silent.
stepped in.
One
Whether Josh was
private
the one who
investigator,
carried that body,
Steve
or
Fisher,
whether he
who
just
many
knew
say
too
is
much
a
and said
reputable
nothing,
missing persons
the outcome
PI
is
following the case
same.
closely,
A career meant to
went on
guide
Pop
an artist
Crime
turned into
TV
a
and
headline
Flat
about
Out
an arrest.
said the silence
The
from
feds
Josh,
really do have
David,
that kind of
and
evidence
even
people are
Interscope
whispering about.
Records was
Josh Marshall
deafening
could be spending
and
the
not a
rest
good
of his
look.
life answering for the choices
That
he
silence
made.
wasn't just in 2024. Even after Celeste was found dead, Josh jumped online denying everything. He insisted that no such email ever reached him, that he never lived with David, and that he had no knowledge of Celeste's situation. When people on TikTok suggested that he might have been involved, he pushed back strongly, saying it was baseless and unfair to accuse him without evidence. But here's where the cracks start to show. Celeste turned up at his place not once, but twice. That email sent in February was enough to bring her home the first time. Later, when she ran away again, her friends didn't call random people. They went straight to him. That detail alone made them believe he was directly involved in her situation. And that's where the story stops feeling like bad PR and starts feeling like something much darker. When Josh finally broke his silence, his response only fueled more suspicion. He insisted he never got any emails about Celeste, denied ever living with David, and claimed people were spinning false narratives and stories. He emphasized that he is a family man with 3 kids and had no knowledge of Celeste or what happened to her. He wrote, "The video was false and the person is misinformed. This is the only time I'll speak on this matter. For now, this has been a tough time for my family as I am a father of 3 children. I received no emails and I am no one's roommate. I live full-time at home with my wife and kids. My daughter is 14, and this news is affecting so many lives. I never received any emails. I had zero knowledge of anything. I don't live in California. Also, I work remotely 95% of the time. My job doesn't require me to have much interaction with any of my clients or David, as there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. This news is tragic for so many and for her family. I hope the proper authorities get to the bottom of it soon. Let me remind people, a lot of this is speculation and alleged. In the meantime, I'm with my family helping them emotionally get through the news of this tragedy. Please report on factual information. Now, on the surface, that sounded like good damage control. I mean, the man was trying to protect his family, but here's the issue. The receipts don't lie. The email existed, the timelines add up. Celeste's friends had contacted him before when she ran away, and somehow, she still ended up living under his roof again. And then there's the M. When the police discovered Celeste's body, she was wearing a bracelet with a single letter, and fans instantly connected it to Josh Marshall. He's been pictured multiple times wearing a chain with that same M. Maybe that's a coincidence, but in a case where everything feels connected, people weren't buying it. The LAPD said her body looked like it had been sitting in that Tesla for weeks before it was found. Neighbors had noticed the car parked for a long time. And get this, the Tesla wasn't even hidden. It was just sitting out in the street, moved a few times before ending up abandoned on Bluebird Avenue. When tow yard employees caught the smell, police opened the trunk and found Celeste wrapped in a bag. Her remains were dismembered, and that's not something you can explain away with, "I don't know." That's something someone tried to cover up. A neighbor later came forward saying they found a Tesla keycard near David's Hollywood Hills property, just sitting in the gutter. They even admitted they picked it up with bare hands before realizing how important it might be, and then turned it in to the LAPD. With all this, Josh's online denial started to sound shaky at best and incriminating at worst. Still, even with all this, Josh Marshall tried to push back. He wrote in one comment, "Stop creating false narratives and assumptions. I have no cars in California. I don't live with David. I had zero knowledge of anything." But the internet wasn't having it. On social media, people kept connecting the dots, and every dot circled right back to him. While Josh was busy denying everything, fans were running their own investigation. On David's official subreddit, which had more than 200,000 members, people started digging into Celeste's death and his connection to her. They posted screenshots, pointed out lyrics that suddenly felt darker, and even linked scenes from his music videos. But then something strange happened. The posts began disappearing. Entire threads were being locked. That's when Redditors noticed that the only listed moderator of the subreddit was David himself. In other words, he was the one removing the conversations, shutting down anything that made him look guilty. The backlash was instant. Fans accused him of trying to cover his tracks, and the subreddit eventually got locked altogether. But after the subreddit meltdown, fans dug up something even more unsettling. It turned out Celeste wasn't the only one. People claimed David had a history of going after underage girls. One person even shared that he dated an 8th grader and would take trips with her to LA. But get this, since her friends knew about it, David allegedly paid them to keep quiet. Now, think about it. If he was going on those trips while still performing, do you really believe he was doing it without his manager knowing? That's almost impossible. But what's more, months before Celeste's death, a chilling comment had already gone viral. On one of David's TikTok posts, it read, "Waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with the 13-year-old girl." That was February 2024, long before Celeste's body was ever discovered in the trunk of his Tesla. What made it worse was how public it was. This wasn't some hidden DM or rumor whispered behind closed doors. It was right there out in the open with thousands of people seeing it, and David never responded. He just left it hanging. Looking back now, that comment feels less like trolling and more like a warning, like someone already knew something was wrong. When fans connected that with his own music videos, the picture started to look even darker. People began revisiting his music, and what they found made their stomachs turn. In the video for One More Dance, David plays two roles, the killer and the victim. At one point, he drags a body across the floor and shoves it into the trunk of a car. Back when it first dropped, fans might have brushed it off as dark, edgy art, but after Celeste was discovered in the trunk of his own Tesla, those visuals hit completely differently. It suddenly felt like he had put the crime on screen before it even happened. Was it just an eerie coincidence or something more sinister? Either way, the internet couldn't unsee it. And yet, as fans were connecting these dots, one group stayed completely silent: his label. While fans were tearing the internet apart with theories, Interscope records, the label backing David said nothing. Not a single statement, not even a vague, were aware of the situation. For many people, that silence spoke louder than words. This is the same label that once signed Cassie when she was still a teenager. Ignoring the fact that one of their artists was now being linked to a dead underage girl felt suspicious. Were they protecting their investment instead of demanding answers? The lack of accountability only fueled the outrage online, and the internet wasn't going to stay quiet. The next wave of backlash wasn't just directed at David, it was aimed straight at Josh Marshall as well. The silence from Interscope only made the noise online louder. On X, people weren't just questioning David anymore, they were dragging Josh into the storm too. They remembered that email. They knew Celeste had stayed with him before, and they weren't buying Josh's denials. One post that went viral read, "The silence is deafening, David. You have nothing to say about your underage girlfriend ending up dead in a car registered to you. And you, Josh Marshall, you knew everything about his life. You managed him. How are you both still quiet?" Others went even further. One user bluntly wrote, "Arrest these two mother effers right here. One or both of them did something to Celeste. Josh knew she was underage and missing. Lock them both up. LAPD is taking too long." By then, it wasn't just about shady lyrics or deleted Reddit posts. To fans, it looked like a coordinated cover-up: an artist, his manager, and even a major label all refusing to speak while the body of a 14-year-old girl had been pulled from his car. The longer the silence dragged on, the more people believed the truth was being buried. It wasn't just strangers on Reddit or TikTok anymore. People who actually knew Celeste started speaking out. Celeste's ex-boyfriend, Damien, revealed that she didn't have the easiest home life. According to him, Celeste often talked about running away. Sometimes it sounded like a joke, but other times it felt like she meant it. Damien remembered one moment clearly. Celeste laughed about leaving her Lake Elsinore home behind, and then one day she actually disappeared. His mother, Jame, backed him up. She said Celeste had confided in her family about the problems she was facing at home. To them, it wasn't shocking that she wanted to escape. What was shocking was how quickly she fell into a situation that spiraled out of control.